You're listening to this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. It would greatly benefit the show. Hello and welcome to Movie Vaders with the Farx brothers. I'm Kirk.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Nick.
And we're joined with Kari and Annabelle Layland. This is Backrooms, non-spoilers?
Yes, and just so that you understand where our guests sit in the upper Midwest film community, actor? Do you prefer actress to actor?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. Totally your preference. But you've also written and directed, as people will find out when I ask about that later in the interview. And you're a festival director now on top of being a DP, director, writer, actress.
Yeah.
Do you run into people who mostly are like, oh, I know you as Kari the actress, and then they find out all this other stuff? Or is it the other way around?
I have, yeah, yes. I mean, it happens both ways. Yeah, I mean, it just kind of depends on how they know me. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I see people on set when I'm there acting, and they have no idea what else I do, but, yeah.
Annabelle, do you identify as Gen Alpha or Gen Z? You're on the cusp of everything I've heard.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to say Gen Z, but I don't know. I might be. It depends on the list you look at, but I hope I'm Gen Z.
You hope to be Gen Z over Gen A, because
Gen A are cringy, is that it?
She doesn't want to be associated with Skibidi Toilet and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Skibidi Toilet, yeah.
I don't know any Gen Alpha. Is it boys and girls that are in Skibidi Toilet, or just boys?
Mostly boys, but
yeah.
there might be a few girls.
It's one of those things, because didn't they option Skibidi Toilet for a movie?
Oh, I hope not.
Right.
Yeah, I hope not.
Yeah, Michael Bay. Okay, and the reason I'm asking about your generation is because I'm most curious anthropologically. How did you first come to know about Backrooms?
Well, I think it started. It started on YouTube, but I've seen so much. There's multiple websites that come together, but I think YouTube most of it, because I've seen the Kane Parsons videos, and I've also seen there's kind of different versions of it. There's like a wiki version too. I've seen that stuff too. There's a lot of things are different between the two, but I've seen a mix of both, mostly YouTube. But.
Millennial Mom, when did you hear about it?
When did I hear about it? Like a couple months ago when the movie was being made. And then I mentioned something about this movie coming out, and they're like, oh, yeah, I know about that, and I really want to see it. I'm like, oh, okay. Tell me more. Yeah.
We'll give you guys a break. Nick, what is the fault line of our current debate that has been going on since yesterday? Because I don't think it's as interesting to talk about, you're right and I'm wrong. I think it's more interesting to talk about where's the line where we disagree. Because Nick and I usually are, it's like my adopted father and I. We disagree by 2%, but we are going to go to blows over that 2%. Because there's just, so that's why I'm saying, where do you think we're disagreeing? Because I think I understand it, but I think it's better.
I kind of lost track, because last night after the movie, you said it was technology that makes Kane Parsons able to direct, and I'm just disagreeing. I think we're disagreeing because you're talking about technology making it easier to make a movie on your own, which I think is true, but going into getting picked to direct a movie and go into the studio system is still the studio system. Like the DIY, it's not DIY anymore, so it's not the same thing, and that's why I don't think the technology, it maybe helped him get seen. He learned Blender to make the Backrooms for YouTube, but there's still a skill set there. I think that's always been required and still is required. That I don't think that technology solves. That you still if you're going into it with no experience. We were arguing about did he have help or not? Because there are rumors that Osgood Perkins. Some are taking it pretty far and saying that he co-directed. I don't think that.
Have you guys seen The Monkey or Longlegs? I know you like horror movies, so.
I haven't seen those.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So those are recent successes from Osgood Perkins.
Yeah.
Also The Keeper.
Yeah. I don't think he co-directed. I just think he probably needed a lot of I don't want to say hand-holding, but I'll say hand-holding, but like, because you're going into a system that exists, and you have to like operate in a system. That's where I see the disagreement.
So yeah, like now, Kane Parsons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. This is a name I learned like within a week ago. I understand this is a big deal. And I listened to an hour-long interview with him today, and I was like, okay, yeah, he sounds like he thinks about the craft and the art the same way older people than him that I've listened to talk about it. So what I'm saying, so to define my technology thing, I'm saying because of technology, there's this way broader set of people who can develop the skills. That's start with macroeconomic. There's just a broader base of people that could do what this 20-year-old, what he was 19, just a couple of years older than you. He was telling people in their 40s and 50s, go there, do this, coming to them for creative decisions. But didn't your mom let you decide things on Lemonade Stand that she even disagreed with?
Yeah. My sister also directed on that one.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Sorry. Wait, did you just direct together? Or you've directed one and she's directed one?
It was mostly her on Lemonade Battle.
What's the one you directed?
I guess I haven't. Well,
She's more of
I haven't
a
been the
co-director.
main director on. Yeah.
Okay.
Zara was the director on Lemonade Battle, but I don't know what you were more of a
Don't know.
writer on that.
Yeah. I guess
she
I
she
gave some
co-wrote,
input,
and then
but-
Zara was the director. She was the lead actress, so she kind of stuck to that role. But yeah, she did make plenty of. She did provide plenty of creative input, but Zara was the lead on that one.
But I remember from speaking to you 10 months ago that you said, based on your experience, you were like, I would make this decision, but I chose to when it was artistic. And how do you make that decision? And then how do you? Because I think that's relevant to what we're talking about. Would you agree, Nick? I mean, it's different because it's your kid.
I wouldn't say it's relevant.
But like at the same time, it's.
I can see the parallel. Yeah, well, I mean, I was DP. I would make suggestions, but it was her call whether it happened or not. And yeah, I mean, I could see. I see what you're saying, where if you haven't directed a professional production before, you might need some mentorship. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously none of us were on that set, so we don't know exactly how it was run, but I could see where, he went in, it sounds like he did the work, he did the homework, and he knew what he wanted. As far as like directing the team of professionals, I'm sure there were people on the production team that had experience that probably gave him some guidance, but they allowed him to make those creative decisions, which still means he's the director. It's they're part of your team and they're there to assist you. So
here's why I think people are saying Kane Parsons had a shadow co-director or something like that, is because all directors have peer groups that they can rely on. Mm-hmm. This guy had the entire internet, but he did not have the network of other people who have directed 8-figure, ostensibly, this is a Hollywood movie, I think it's independent technically, and then, or because it was produced by it doesn't matter. The point is, we're talking about $10 million. That's a lot of Skrilla, okay? So my other part of the argument is that a half decade ago, we had something that transformed how people look at work. So it kind of brought this flattening of, well, you're just another person on the end of a Zoom call. What do I care if you're the department head of a $10 million movie or somebody that I have to work with on this $10 movie? You know what I mean? You're going to have a $10 budget to make this craft, but I still have to talk to you for hours on end to figure out how we're going to use that $10 to make whatever we're making, a 7-minute. And so he's developed that quicker and faster because he had a lot of iterations at it, and he did it wrong with people of less consequence. Where I think Osgood Perkins helped him is that it was his art director, it was his production designer, his I think set decorator, people he's worked with, and so he just leveraged his network to, hey, you're 20, you don't have a bunch of 50 and 60-year-old directors that have made $10 million movies before, so I'm going to tell you what that's like and introduce you, and you're one of us now. You're one of us, you make movies, even though I'm a millennial. Only in this context if I see you out in the wild and be like, it's a kid. I don't talk to them unless I know them. Or unless they're one of mine. Basically, if I hear a kid crying, I'm like, is that my kid crying? And then I'm like, doesn't matter.
Well, let's hear the next rebuttal.
Well, yeah, not to, but that's kind of one of the things I'm talking about. That's one of the things that is part of being in that system is like you have to know, like if you've never done it before, how would you even know how to choose a production designer? Because production design is super important for this, right? Even though he had all the ideas, right? But you've got to like, you still have to know like how to choose a production designer and like how do you do that? Like, so that's exactly what I thought. Like, probably was the case was that they brought department heads that they had worked with before to it, and like that was a way of helping him. That's the kind of help I'm talking about. I'm not one of the people saying that he had a shadow director.
Sure. And the reason I'm kind of like making this as absolutely freaking clear as I can is because studio executives have proven they will learn the long lessons from success. That's why there are so many sequels. That's why there's so much IP. Hey, Annabelle, do you give one crap about Star Wars?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I watched a lot of it.
Okay.
It was a while ago, but
How are you going to see Mandalorian and Grogu?
maybe yeah.
You
I
will.
think
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I
You
think
want
so.
to see it though?
Yeah. I think I might watch like a one of the previous ones before it just to
So you haven't seen any of
See,
those. You're aware of them,
I've
but you haven't
seen-
watched them.
I've seen I forgot which specific ones I've
Okay.
seen, but I've seen a lot of Star Wars.
Man, there's a lot of parallel between these two things because everyone like is going, "Oh no, Star Wars is dead," and like obsession's increasing in box office every weekend because we don't understand your generation and what your buying habits are or something. So I just want the big thing I want them to learn is take the chance on the next 20 or 30-year-old. Hollywood should do that.
Yeah,
and
by all
then
means.
They should.
Whoever's producing, it's your job, and I assume they would because they're to a degree one of us.
Well, yeah,
they would
now
leverage their
that's-
artistic network to help another artist.
And now
That's
that
all.
it's work, yeah, I'm rooting for it. Like I'm sure there are a bunch of more 20-year-olds with good visions, good ideas. And
Obsession.
now they'll take 26, whatever. But I mean, yeah.
I said 20, 30. People,
Huh?
people understand the range from 20 to 30.
Oh, I didn't hear the 30 part.
Sorry.
Yeah, go for it. And just
Wait, but
yeah.
what was the argument though? You guys were arguing that was it a bad thing that he got help, or was it a good thing? Or
I
what's the
just
argument
was
there?
arguing that I'm pretty sure he would have had to have gotten help.
Yeah,
Not that
either
that's a
or.
bad thing. It's totally not a bad thing, but I think it was probably necessary. That's all.
I'll
That's all.
use the terminology of the movie. It's a null zone. It doesn't matter if you're 20 years old on one side of the wall or 50 years on one side of
Is
the
that what a null zone is? in
Yeah,
Backrooms?
I watched the thing you sent me after I saw the movie that explains the lore. Can you explain creepypasta to us? Because I kept thinking,
What
so
is
the
this, like
monsters
the
are.
third time?
So I kept thinking the monsters were scary pasta, like
No.
spaghetti going around. I
Is it
thought that
any word?
until I watched this movie and then someone explained what it means.
I haven't looked at it in a pretty long time, but
Okay.
it's just a kind of a combination within like creepypasta. There's kind of different stories, I guess, and different monsters within those stories. I'm pretty sure it's just a combination of stories that people made that have their own kind of lore, I guess. I haven't looked at it in a while, but
Is that like
that's pretty much what I know. It's like there's like a website.
Is it kind of like Reddit where just like anybody can go in there and submit
Yeah, and
stuff?
submit a story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Slender Man is like a creepypasta, basically,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yeah, Slender Man is a creepypasta.
So you're aware of Slender Man? That was a question I
Yeah.
had to ask. Instead
Yeah.
of debate topics, I have a lot of questions to ask young people. I'm kidding. Does this movie work on its own? Who wants to take the for? Who wants to take the
No,
against?
it doesn't, because you might have to see the other ones, the YouTube videos.
You don't think this movie works on its own? Okay. I disagree. I don't think you have to see any of that, and in fact, it would hinder my viewing to have seen that. I think
Yeah.
the more of it I watched before, I was like, I don't need to see any of this. I just want to experience this movie. So I disagree. But our guests, did it work for you on its own?
I thought the first half worked, but I didn't. I feel like it was made with the intention of having like more like a series or something after, because I don't feel like it had a ending. I didn't feel like it tied up the story. So I feel like it was made with the intention of either making people talk about it and try and theorize what actually happened in the end, or they're planning on making more and they want to make you wonder what happens next.
That's how it felt to me too.
So yeah, I mean, So personally, I don't prefer that method because when I go and watch a film, I want to see it conclude in the end. So, and I didn't feel that was satisfied. But yeah, that's my thought.
I think seeing all the stuff before watching the movie gives you like background or gives you kind of an idea on what it's already going to be like, but it also makes you kind of be nitpicky once you see the movie. If you've seen a lot of, and you've like looked into all the stuff before the movie about the Backrooms, you might pick out the differences or things that weren't similar or things that, yeah, I guess we're just different than the things, because I've seen a lot of the stuff before the movie, and I was like picking out the differences, and yeah, there's good things and bad things about not seeing the stuff before, but I also think it didn't fully wrap up at the end. I agree with that.
You thought I did?
But I think some things did, but I think some things I still had questions about. But
Okay, Nick, do you want to make like 3 points on why this movie doesn't work on its, or anyone that wants to make 3 points on, or any
Well, my points on why it doesn't work for me are
spoilers?
how it, yeah, that
Okay, so we
too. But
won't say it.
I actually don't think it doesn't work on its own. If you haven't, I've only watched a few of the YouTube videos, and it was only like in the last couple of years. It does set some expectation. I mean, it was clearly doing its own thing. Like there was I think they call it the entity in the YouTube videos, the squiggly
Oh, yeah, the
black
life form.
whatever. Like, oh, that never showed up. Okay. It was doing something. We got the man or the whatever, the guy in the little chair with the light, and you got totally different
Monsters.
monsters. Yeah. Which
I'm
is
not
fine.
sure those were monsters. Just
Well,
to be clear,
whatever they are,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I can't find the
monsters
right
in
word
the-
for them. But like, yeah, no, it's not the fact that I didn't feel like you needed to see the YouTube for the story that they were telling to make sense. They were. I just didn't like how they ended the story, or how they didn't quite end it. You know.
And without spoiling anything, it has to do with the protagonist arc, correct?
Well, there's that, and there's some clumsy stuff there that
Okay.
I didn't care for. Yeah.
Does anyone want to make any non-spoiler points for why the movie doesn't work on its own? I'll make 1 point as to why it works on its own.
I'll just kind of go to like some of the things that like her and her sister, well, not her and her friend. We brought her friend to see it. I think that they were. I guess it's not necessarily to your question, but it's more like they were kind of disappointed that some things that they thought would be in there were not in there, because that they had been familiar with all this different lore. They were like, well, where was that? Where was that? This, I was hoping that I would see more of. What, like layers, or is that what you were saying, or levels or something? Yeah, and I don't know. There were different things.
What's levels
That-
and layers?
well, not
yeah,
layers.
it's
I don't know where that came
Backrooms.
from, but there's different versions of the Backrooms. I guess there's what people call Kane Parsons version, which is just that one area, and then there's a bunch of different levels that I'm pretty sure it's people. Just anyone kind of added to it over time, but now it's kind of a set lore or story, I guess. But there's a bunch of different levels and they're different settings, I guess, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain.
Sure.
Because there's different liminal spaces, I guess, if that makes sense. But
I definitely want to talk about
Yeah.
liminal spaces, but you know what your mom just described you as? A comic book nerd.
What was that?
Because I'm pointing at Marvel.
Oh,
That is exactly what comic book
something
nerd.
I thought
else.
you were touching
Yeah.
your nipples. I was
Yeah,
like,
what was
Well,
that?
I'm not perverted, you two. She saw me. You
But
saw
I
me
am.
put her at the sign, right?
Yeah.
It says Marvel.
Yeah.
Were you aware that this is a comic book
yeah,
thing? Okay.
Yes.
So cool.
What?
Get your perverted minds out of my man cave, please. But that's how
aware.
comic book
I
nerds
mean, that
feel
could be a
about
reason
movies.
why it doesn't work by itself.
No, that's you
got
bringing
a
your own
bunch of-
meta crap into the movie.
You brought a bunch of lore that wasn't in the movie into the movie. Maybe it's not the fault of the movie,
Yeah.
but that
We
does make it not work well on its own because you have all this baggage.
That's
It's
why I
like,
went in pure.
It's almost like it can't win because like if
Yeah.
to me it seemed like it did its own thing, with an established new lore. Maybe the async that might be, I don't know, is that part of the, I don't know.
It's
That's
part
the
of
company.
But yeah,
Parsons,
I know, but
yeah.
I don't know if that's, I haven't watched enough of the YouTubes to know if that's part of the YouTube series that
It
might be
is.
carried over.
Yeah.
So like they did enough of a different thing maybe to make it stand out on its own, but then you're still gonna have people who it can't stand on its own because too many people associate it with the YouTube and are gonna be looking for the things that are missing. So they can't really win with it. But hey, I mean that's the price you pay for having this like cultural phenomenon. That's why it made like 80 million. If there hadn't been the YouTube series that like built up all this hype over the last like 4 years, the movie wouldn't have made 80 million opening weekend. So, take your...
Get ready for 2 months from now when someone sues A24 and says that their idea was taken from this or so. I predict that now. By the time this comes out a month after that, someone will sue because they'll say, oh, that was my idea. It had these elements. And I think the important thing, this movie totally won because it made a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, by that measure, there's no denying.
Wild shift.
Why did it work well for you?
Because it had a beginning, middle, and end, and I know people are kind of going, that second act isn't there, or there's something missing between the transition of the second to third act. I wasn't looking at this as a hero's journey as much as I was looking at it as I'm being dropped in a sci-fi story and experiencing it from how one character affects it. I'm trying to speak obliquely as to not talk about the thing that you have a problem with So because I could follow it and like I approached this as any other horror movie, this is way more interesting than Hokum.
Oh, wait, that's a really low bar though. That's
That's 80. Was a well-reviewed movie. It was made by a great director.
I mean, why you think it works well? Because it has beginning, middle, and end. That's
beginning, middle, and end. Wasn't bored,
watch.
And there was something I could like hook onto as being this is different than other shit. Liminal spaces within our lives. Like, what does liminal space? Can we go youngest first? What is a liminal space? My wife and I had to have it explained to me by Mrs. Farx yesterday before I saw the movie.
Well, I'm not 100% sure how to explain it. I've seen people explain it as spaces that seem like they don't have a clear exit, I guess. It's just I'm not sure really how to explain this, but spaces where they look like they don't have a clear exit or just, they're usually empty with like no people and typically not cars or anything, any really sign of life, I guess. Based on what I've seen, it's just kind of an empty space that doesn't have a clear exit. Yeah, I don't know. There's probably a better definition, but...
You're the next youngest.
Oh, I am. Well, I thought it has like
Actually, it's Kari, just to be clear.
Oh, okay.
It has a 90s aesthetic, right? It's like old-timey 90s kids grew up in it. It's like bright colors.
That's what liminal space is to you?
Yeah, that's what I think of.
I do give you that, like a lot of the things on YouTube, because I put them on YouTube for background sound for like writing. But of course, I see the images too. They usually have like a series of the image changes every few minutes, so I see a lot of them. A lot of them are like that, 90s themed. But I think the uniting theme is like long hallways distance, and like long hallways you can't see the end of. Here's like a McDonald's in the middle of this endless hallway. I see a lot of those. They change which fast food place it is. Sometimes it's a Wendy's, nice. but that's ball crawls and at the end of dead end hallways.
Can I tell you how Mrs. Farx explained it to me that agrees with what our Gen Z guest said? Is that liminal space is transitional space. So when you say there's no exit, that means you're looking to transition through the space. You're looking for an exit, meaning you're looking to move through it. So all of these spaces are spaces you just keep moving through, but then what is it? And which leads me to, what is this movie about? And I want to hear about liminal spaces in your lives first, but you're the guest, so you have to go next, please. What is a liminal space in your life, or how did you think of them before I explain, or however you want to take the question.
I guess just from, my understanding is just like some kind of like, I don't know, a space that's kind of infinite, that doesn't really, like you could keep going and going and it just, there's no end to it, you never stop.
Just. A dead end job, so you feel that way.
Dead end, yeah. yeah, I don't know, I guess.
When is class gonna be over? You ever have that feeling?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
definitely.
that's her version of it, is this school waiting for the end, the countdown. Last day of school's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
wow.
So there's actually
And
an
you're doing
end.
a podcast? Make sure you tell everyone to listen when this comes out, please. Dear brother, my eldest brother, my elder brother, what was liminal space to you before this? Because you put it on for the background listening when you're writing.
No, I didn't even know of the term before I found it. Like, I think it's cool. Like, I love those images that, like, across all of those different YouTube channels that do them, like, I'm into that stuff. I used to have, like, because I remember having dreams as a kid about places like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I respond to it. So, I mean, yeah, just as the visual, yeah, I love that stuff. But I never thought about in real life what, I never knew the term until like a year ago. So.
What do you think the movie thinks it is? Does it think it's dreams? Does it think it's the internet? Does it think it's AI? Does it, like, what is the metaphor of the movie? Without spoiling it, I think we're reaching.
We could submit.
Well, I still want to kind of, because, like, if, let's say you were listening to this and you had no idea that you're finding this on a desert island and you haven't seen the movie Backrooms.
So you're talking about what does the movie think of the Backrooms are, not necessarily liminal spaces in general.
Correct, because, yeah.
I mean, I saw hints of, like, time travel because the guy, well, this is kind of a spoiler, it involves a shirt, though.
Sure.
But
We'll save it. But,
yeah.
I think I would say I don't see time travel. Why I think the internet is a better metaphor than time travel, because the internet encompasses time travel. She experiences music from the 70s and 80s because she can go on YouTube, and you were born after the creation of YouTube. So, like, not only were you born after the time of the music, you were born after the time of the thing you're listening to the music on, which is true for most people. I was born after the radio when I listened to the 70s and 80s music, and I might have been born in the 80s, or I'm 29.
But how is it like the internet? How?
Because the internet has a lot of cannibalism and, like, copying and pasting. Like, the reason this is, like, this movie is literally born from the internet, so I know this is kind of a obvious take. You go, oh, it's a metaphor for the internet, because when you go on the internet, you can go infinitely and infinitely. You seemingly going somewhere and possibly never getting anywhere because you're just sitting in one space looking at a computer.
Yeah, but there are no trolls on it and the backrooms though. There are monsters walking around. But
What's the difference between a
trolls?
troll and a
Is that
monster
the
to your
metaphor then?
psyche?
No,
It
that's
seems like you're
different, that's
accepting my
different.
metaphor. Does
No,
anyone want to come
you're
in with a
saying
better
the psyche,
metaphor?
and now you're saying Anna. Which one is it? Is it based on what psyche?
No,
or
I was
is it based
saying,
on
like,
Anna?
the effect of a troll and a monster on your psyche is similar when you're just experiencing through the internet and you're only thinking about how you experience it in your
Yeah,
mind.
but there's
not
a
how
lot
you
more
physically-
trolls on the internet than there are monsters in that backroom movie.
There are people on the internet who convince people to kill themselves.
I think we're going off the rails.
No, I'm just saying, like, there's...
I mean, it's an interesting interpretation of it, at least.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if
yeah,
that was
no.
their intention, but I mean, I can see where you're going with it for sure.
Do you want to take dreams? Do you want to think it could be dreams? Because theoretically, our dreams can't be anything other than things we've experienced, right? Because it's coming from within in our brain.
Well, I mean, people create things all the time that aren't things that they've actually experienced. They kind of create, you take things that you've experienced, and then you are inspired to make that into something new, and that's kind of where art comes from. But no, I mean, I think the filmmaker's intention, they seem to be leaning really into the mental health kind of stuff with the, and I don't think that's really a spoiler because that's Act 1. They're
Definitely.
There's a therapy session. He's talking about going around and around in circles in his life, and he's not going anywhere. And, I think that's kind of what they're trying to base it on is, his never-ending cycle of, where he's not breaking through his personal issues and not really having any self-awareness to change, to get better, and to grow as a person. Yeah.
Well, that actually has a lot of relationship to obsession, which is why these things might be hitting on a cultural touch. I think we're all in a state of arrested development because of technology. But
I thought it was the mind. I thought they were hinting that it was like the mind, like an extension of the mind, because they did a shot where I think they were showing Mary's like house she grew up in, her apartment, and they did the thing where the camera goes down multiple times, and it gets pared down every time they go down another level, and it's like there's just little remnants, like the basic shape of the apartment is left there, and like little fragments of furniture are embedded in the wall. That I took as like, this is like your memories of, well, whether it's where you grew up or other things end up down here somewhere.
Do you want to know where? I don't think this is a spoiler. I disagree with you that it's her memories. That's why I think I'm going to be able to get away with how I'm going to argue the protagonist arc in the spoiler part.
Why would they why was it her apartment then in the showing? Why did they show her apartment morphing into a space in the Backrooms?
It's a reversal of the role play in the outside the Backrooms. So we've seen it from one character A to character B. Now we're seeing it from character B to character A is my argument.
So it would be her apartment, though.
Well, yeah, the like reference thing that happened is still there. But now we're talking about, is the metaphor of the Backrooms, is it a metaphor for what's in someone's head, or is it a metaphor for something externalized that we can point to, like technology, the internet, AI? Or is it, what was the other, time travel was one you threw out?
Well, the only thing, because we saw something that somebody else was wearing, and they were still wearing it, and yet it was in a pile of stuff, and so that made me think time travel. But I'm not hooked on that.
The problem I have with time travel is it
know what it is.
Definitely. And multiverse is the problem you get with time travel, is you create a multiverse. So
Marvel
you don't get a multiverse.
Marvel does it.
Travel.
You can do it.
Yeah, that's
not necessarily.
Well, it depends.
Terminator does time travel. There's no multiverse.
That's because they have an immutable timeline. There are things that ultimately. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll end there since it's not related to this one.
Thank you for listening. For more JK Productions, find us on Instagram at JK Productions Team and on Facebook, JK Productions MN.